Hey, and welcome. We are to the point where we're going to rebuild these. So again, thanks for joining. But this is the amp that we're going to redo. It's the TSA10 model. This is the control unit. It's the DCC2, I think. And we're going to go through, I don't have enough to do these, but we'll go through and replace the capacitors in there. As you can kind of see them in here, we're going to go through and do them. Some of them probably test okay, but they're old and it's just time. Like if you look at that guy. That ain't gonna sound good. It's gonna sound terrible. These bigger ones look like they're okay, but you know, for the amount of time and effort that you got to put into getting all the stuff out to do it, you might as well just replace them all. Plus, they're not that expensive. Now, one thing that you'll find as you go through and do stuff like this, like see, for instance, this one, 2700 microfarad, 50 volts DC. Now, that capacitor, they don't make that anymore. So you got to get as close as you can. So I bought this kit all put together, and you can buy these kits and they spend all the time to figure out what are the good caps and the country of origin. So a lot of these are from Japan, which is where the good caps come from. And they put them all together. It's organized, so you don't have to go searching for them. It's easy to do it this way. Anyhow, they go through and they find the closest thing they can to match. So unfortunately, the closest best thing, or maybe it's an upgrade even, is the 3300 UF or microfarad 50 volt. So that'll replace that one. And so on and so forth. They're not going to be exact. A lot of them will be. I bet that these three are probably all going to be the same. But from what I understand, as long as you want to stick as close as you can with the microfarad, and as far as the voltage goes, that can waver and be different. It doesn't have to be the same. So maybe this would be, if this was a 3300 100 volt or 200 volt or 600 volt, it wouldn't matter. It's still going to be fine to replace this as long as the microfarads are the same. So I'm just going to kind of pull these things apart real quick and just start replacing the caps. Put it in fast forward because that's going to be kind of boring to sit here and watch me pull each one. But effectively what you do is you very delicately pull these off one at a time. Pull these connectors loose. Always look for wires pushing out of the back. Where these things connect on the bottom, you'll see it's nice and shiny. Or if it's really dirty and corroded, you'll want to clean that off. Same obviously thing applies over here with these. And you just kind of go through and look. If you want to be real thorough, you'll go through and you'll check every one of these resistors and diodes to make sure that they're all good. I'm just going to go with the caps and then we'll troubleshoot it from there. But I think chances are the rest of the stuff is good because most of these things don't go bad. These little tiny capacitors and, again, resistors and diodes. If you see one that looks like it's burnt completely black or it's hot, or sometimes, you can flip these boards over like on this one. On the other jukebox I have that has this board that's just like this, there's some stuff on there that runs pretty hot. And the board actually kind of, instead of being completely flat, kind of flexed, and it broke some of the circuits. So you have to repair those by making jumpers and wires to make sure that the circuits stay complete. And those are all things that you look for while you're in here. But I'll go ahead and hopefully make short work of this. And I got all my caps that I bought when I did the other one, and I ordered 2 or 3 or 10, of everything that I ordered. That way, if I ever encountered it again, I'd already have it on hand, and it worked out pretty good for me this time. So we'll jump in and swap them out. All right, so just kind of a quick view. I'm not going to show myself soldering every one of these. Maybe I'll do the first board, but it's kind of boring after a while. But there is on this board to the left, there's a blue and white wire that plugs in right here. So this blue and white one plugs in right there. Then there is a white and red wire right there that plugs into the center. And then there's a whole bunch of them down here. And I think what I'm gonna do, just so I don't have to upset any of this stuff, is I've only got 2 capacitors to get to. One that's kind of buried right there, and this one. Same with this board. I'm just gonna leave them in there, and I will, flip them upside down, heat, the spot up with my soldering iron, take the cap loose, put the new one in, paying close attention to the polarity. And, if you get in a bind, there's wiring schematics for these and everything in the user manual, or service manual, excuse me, which I have. But these pins, you see I'll touch these up just a little bit too. And then I'll replace these. Now, if you notice, look at this one. These wires aren't very long, are they? Now look how huge this capacitor is that it's replacing. And it's got wires and everything. Best thing you can do, and in some cases you can't even stretch that distance. You'll have to solder a wire to this, to that. So with these, we're never going to use this again. It's old. So I just clip them right at the end, and then I'll pull that wire sleeve back a little bit and snip a little bit off, and then push it, and then hopefully try to get this to bridge the gap. If it won't, then we'll just get a new wire and we'll solder that in. But that's how you kind of go about that. So now we get to the fun part, replacing some of these caps. I like to sort all mine out by size. These, the kit that I bought, these are all labeled so you can reference the wiring diagrams and stuff to help you get it all put back together right. But I think this one's going to be pretty self-explanatory. I've done a few of them, so it should just go no problem. All right, so here we go. I set mine right at about 650 degrees. And then I just pull them out one at a time. Now these two were the same, so I went ahead and just pulled them both. But just to kind of show you again, you just try to get as close as you can. So this is a 6 volt, if you see that, 200 UF. And what I put in there was 220 UF, 25 volts. So the 25 volt, great. It doesn't really matter. It could be 200 volts. That's fine. 220 UF, it's a little bit higher, but these all have, a tolerance where they waver a little bit, and that's still even within what that would have been. So we're still good there. If you're paying enough attention, I like to help myself out and put the numbers, you know, and whichever way is pointing to the negative in a way that I can see it. You could, you know, if I would have flipped these the other way around and put them in there, you know, say for like example on this one. If I put that down, I mean, that's not really going to tell me a whole lot. Like, what is this cap? Aside from getting on the internet and looking it up, you wouldn't know. You can't really double check your work. But if you put it this way, face up, then you can see. Another thing I like to do, and again, it's just because I'm new, I'm not a pro, and I'm sure everybody's got an opinion on my abilities here, but, you know, I like to double check my work. I don't want it to be screwed up when I get it put back together. So whatever tag I took off of the new capacitor, I put on the one that I replaced it. That way, when I go back to put it all back together, I can double check and make sure that these things were all correct. Also, these boards are super easy. So these kind of look like batteries down here on the circuit boards, plus, negative. And on these, let me grab another one that's like that one right there. So you see how it's got the negative and then the arrow's pointing towards my thumb? That's negative. And then the positive is obviously the opposite direction. Also, they kind of look like a, you know, they've got this like little indent right here at the tip. That's the positive end. So, quick tip. So this one's done. I've got those two, the big ones, and then I found one that's going to be pretty tough because it's kind of buried. Now, this is how all the old amps used to be. It looked all like this, like an impossible scenario. Like you have to cut these loose and move them out of the way or try to unscrew this stuff from the board and lift them up and try to get it replaced. So what I'm going to do with that one is I'm probably just going to clip it right at the end of the two places where it goes. You know, delicately move some stuff out of the way, but I'm pretty sure it just goes to this post and then the one right next to it. I'll clip that one out, and then I'll just end up, you know, maybe just making a little bit longer wire, and I'll mount it like over here. Not only would that be easier to deal with in the future, but it's gonna be easier for me to put it all back together too. So that's it for soldering on this guy. I'll show you when I get done with it, what it all looks like and how I fared. But this, you know, this is, it just can't get any easier than that, really. So don't be afraid to try it yourself. Polarity is obviously huge, and you have to pay attention to which cap you pull out. So plus, you know, the positive side's got to go here, negative over. You know, with these boards, they kind of foolproof it. So thank you, Seeburg employees of the 70s and engineers that designed this thing for us in the future. But that's kind of the deal. So I'll keep going. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. All right, and here we go. Actually took quite a while. You don't want to rush, so it's good that it took some extra time, but got them all in. See, that one snuck down in there. You can see the voltage and the UF from up here. So if you wanted to double check before you button everything up, it's really easy to do. Just visualize it. One thing I will say that I'm thankful for, if you read a manual or forums and stuff, I'm sure they talk about upgrades or different things that you can do. But so this was in this location right here, and I got 4 of these little electrolytic capacitors. They're 1 UF 50 volt, and I saw that because I'm sitting here looking through all these things, and I'm like, well, where do all these things go? You know, I've got a whole bunch of extras. Well, it was for those. So there was one here, 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 and there. So that pretty much concludes it though. I got those all in. The big one's in. I had to make a couple jumper wires. This one was real pain in the butt. I'm going to get a little zip tie and kind of nail it down to something because I couldn't put heat shrink over those ends, so I'm going to kind of separate them a little bit so that they won't touch, and then I'm going to kind of lock it in place so that nothing can move it around or bump into it. But so yeah, that's all. The old ones are out and the new ones are in, and then I'm going to turn my attention over to that guy. So we'll just keep plugging away here until they're done. All right, so we're going to start on this one next, but just to kind of touch base, so on some of them that I pulled out, you know, there were a couple that were pretty gnarly. That one was no good. This one is the same, no good. There was one other one. They all look like they've been hot. That one was no good. This one I think was okay. But, oh yeah, this was that one that was really hard to reach in the amp. And then look at it, it's starting to puff its chest out. So this thing is junk as well. So, amp's done. Now we'll work on this. So this board sits right on top of all that, plugs into this big wiring harness. Looking at the back of it, everything looks pretty good. Nothing crazy. It doesn't look like it's ever been touched, so that's good. I'll polish those tips up a little bit. Now this was the board that got real hot on my other one. And just kind of going through and looking at it. That one, oh, that one for sure is almost for sure bad, because it's bulging. That one was bad in my other one too. Those had been replaced in my other one once upon a time. And these got hot. So we'll pull this out. I'll check all these fuses. And then if I've got the stuff, I don't think I do for this one. I'll have to order these ones separate and replace them. But that one's looking kind of roasty. So kind of the same thing as it was with the amp. Just pull the board out and start replacing them one at a time, one end at a time, and you won't get yourself in trouble. So we'll keep rolling, then we can go do some more fun stuff. So I'm almost done. I have one left. So as luck would have it, I had one 300 UF capacitor, and I have a Rockola 404 Capri that started humming real bad anytime it would come off mute. So I pulled the amp out and looked at it, and it had a 300 UF capacitor that needed to be replaced. I replaced it. The hum went away, but so did the cap. So I checked this one. I pulled a leg on it and checked it, and it seems to be okay. It, you know, the UF reading was like 290 on a 300, so that's not bad. And then on top of that, it kind of scanned forever when you check for capacitance. So we're just going to hope that's good enough for the next couple days, you know, if I can get this thing put together. I'll just take this back out. This is really easy to get to, so I'll just take it back out, probably when I do these guys. But I'll just take it back out and replace that. But everything is good, word to the wise. So I checked the resistance between this point and this point with the fuse in it, and they were not connecting. Did it on both sides, nothing. Pulled the fuse out, and there's a bunch of corrosion and buildup on the inside of that. So I got one of these bore cleaners and cleaned it out, and then I did the same for those. These ones were okay, but they were starting to kind of pit out. This one was not making contact anymore, so I'm sure that would have been a problem eventually. But everything else looked pretty good, so I'll throw the rest of this back together, and we'll go for the gold on the rest. Boom. Just like that. It's all back in there. So with the pictures that I took of it earlier, I threw all this back together the way that it was. Got everything all plugged in. For safety reasons, you should probably turn this thing off and then plug these things in like I did. it is nice to have light while you're working, but you don't want to mess anything up. Maybe you won't. That just, I guess, a word of caution. So, but yeah, kind of a far cry from where it was. You would have thought I would have wiped some of this down when I had it out, since I cleaned everything else out, you know, as good as I could. So anyhow, we'll come back to that. But it is back together and looking fine. This is kind of a bummer, but I don't care. It's still, you know, what do you call that? I'm about 3-4 feet away. Maybe this is a 5-footer. This glass up here is. I'm sure you could paint it or do something, but we're not going to mess with that for now. So my next thing is going to be to try to get this out, get this pig out of here, clean up everything underneath there, vacuum it all out, wipe it down, and clean this so that it's in good shape. I don't know. I guess give it some money. I don't know if I would have fixed anything yet. All right, select any single, select any album. Cool. All right, so let's see if our numbers got any better. Ooh. Select reset. 1, 2, 3. So I picked 126. Will it go there? I bet not. At least it tried to move. It's still cold out here, but... So, it's still dirty. Still got some yuckiness going on. That's all right. Let's see. We'll just stop it right there. I've also noticed that I have a few light bulbs that are burnt out. The 1 or the 2 should be on at least, you know, and so on. But if you look down in there, if you get it just right, it'll stop. Now, which side did I throw in there? The Beatles. Let's do Lady Madonna. This record is thrashed. So if it breaks it, it breaks it. And if it plays, it ain't gonna play very good, but let's just see if it does. So we'll trick it, make a selection. There it goes, grabbed it. What is it gonna sound like now? Oh. I wonder if I didn't plug some stuff in. Oh yeah, I did. Well, I guess we're gonna have to solve for that now, aren't we? Oh, unless it's playing on the wrong side. Yep, it's playing on the side that doesn't have a needle, of course. Oh well. Anyhow, you know what? Let's kick it out. And let's see, which side has the needle? That side. So we'll stop it. Oh, whoop. There we go. Lady Madonna. All right, where is it at? Kind of hard to tell. Maybe right here. Let's see, what side would that be? It'd be in the 100s. I don't know. Maybe it's the luck of the draw. You get this to pick it right. There, grabbed it. Moved it to the far side. Ah, of course, I put it in the wrong way. Man, that's song drives me nuts. It does sound better than it did. So let's put it in the other way. There we go. All right, so I need Lady Madonna to face this way. I think that's about where it's at. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't flip the trigger. Duh. Come on, guys. I'm getting so excited here, I'm losing it. Okay. Where are we at? We're right here. I'm gonna cheat and flip that trigger. Then we're gonna select the song again. Grabs it, pulls it in, and it pulls it into the wrong side. Boo! I think it's the luck of the draw. Whichever pin it's touching when I flip this up is where it's going to go. And then the needle is going to pick one side or the other of the record to be on. So, well, if I don't get it this time, then we'll just, yeah. Oh, well. Anyways, time to clean that out. It needs to run like it's supposed to. It's not doing its thing yet, and I'm sure that that's the issue. One thing I did forget to mention, the people that I bought it from had told me that, you know, at one point in time, their sister or whoever had the bar that owned it said that sometimes it would act up, and if it did, you just got some dry lube spray and you just hammered it with it, and then it would just work like magic again. And that's kind of concerning, because if this thing is covered in all of that, let's see. I don't know why this doesn't work like it's supposed to. Maybe we'll figure that out when we're cleaning it again. Last try. Well, it has to plate on that side because that's the only side that's got the needle. Oh, and I didn't put the thing on. Oh well, I'm done. I'm giving up. We're gonna rebuild this mech and go from there. There. I just had to give up on it. I hear some bass. A lot of bass. It's making stuff in here rattle. So let's try a few things here. It's definitely making better sounds than it was. So where do we have this all set? Bypass, treble, max. Yeah, I think it's a little better. And then it's lots of bass. Less treble. There, that was the bass. I was gonna say, I don't know that it really did much. What is this one? Scratch compressor, okay. Let's just set that in the middle. Well, doesn't sound great, doesn't sound perfect, but this record is trashed. But it sounds better than it did, so we'll go with that. Once again, thanks for joining and watching. Hope that was helpful in one way or another, but we're gonna draw the line here today, and I'll be back tomorrow and we'll dig into this mechanism. Thank you.